I don't get along very well. That's not a secret we've held. I think we're enjoying this separation.
Have you ever watched an episode of MythBusters and wondered how two special effects experts managed to turn science into one of the most entertaining shows on television? For more than a decade, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman tested myths, blew things up, crashed cars, launched rockets, and made millions of people fall in love with science. The show became a global phenomenon and one of Discovery Channel's biggest successes. But then, after years of dominating television, MythBusters suddenly came to an end. Fans were left asking the same question. Why would Discovery cancel one of its most popular and recognizable shows? The answer is far more complicated than most people realize. To understand what really happened, we first need to look at how MythBusters became such a cultural phenomenon in the first place. When MythBusters premiered in 2003, nobody expected it to become a television legend. The concept was simple. Take popular myths, urban legends, movie scenes, and internet rumors, then use science to determine whether they were true or false. What made the show different was the chemistry between its hosts. Adam Savage was energetic, enthusiastic, and constantly excited about experimentation. Jamie Hyneman was calm, analytical, and often appeared completely unfazed by the chaos around him. Together, they created a dynamic that audiences loved. Every episode delivered something memorable. One week they would test whether a person could survive a movie stunt. The next week they would be blowing up cement trucks or launching projectiles across massive distances. Viewers never knew what to expect. As ratings climbed, MythBusters became one of Discovery Channel's flagship programs. Schools used clips from the show to teach science. Teachers recommended it to students. Parents watched with their children. At its peak, MythBusters was doing something very few television shows managed to achieve. It was both educational and entertaining. The series ran for years, producing hundreds of episodes and testing thousands of myths. But behind the scenes, cracks were beginning to form. One of the biggest misconceptions about MythBusters is that Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman were close friends. Because they worked together for so many years, many fans assumed they spent time together off camera and enjoyed a strong friendship. The reality was very different. Adam and Jamie have both admitted over the years that they were never particularly close outside of work. They respected each other professionally, but their personalities were dramatically different. Adam was outgoing and expressive. Jamie was private and reserved. In interviews, Adam explained that they functioned more like co-workers than best friends. Their relationship was built around mutual respect rather than personal friendship. This surprised many fans because their on-screen dynamic looked so natural. But the truth is that professional respect can often be stronger than friendship when it comes to producing great television. Despite their differences, they continued working together successfully for years. However, the growing demands of the show were creating new challenges. By the early 2010s, MythBusters had already been on television for nearly a decade. Producing each episode required enormous amounts of planning, engineering, testing, filming, and editing. The larger the myths became, the more expensive the show became. Explosions, custom-built equipment, high-speed cameras, specialized crews, safety teams, and massive test locations all cost money. Lots of money. Discovery Channel was investing heavily into every season. At the same time, television itself was changing. Streaming services were beginning to attract viewers away from traditional cable networks. Audience habits were evolving. Competition was increasing across every genre of entertainment. Even successful shows were feeling the pressure. Then came another major change that caught fans off guard. In 2014, Discovery announced that the build team would be leaving the series. For years, Grant Imahara, Kari Byron, and Tori Belleci had become fan favorites. Many viewers loved their experiments just as much as the work Adam and Jamie performed. The trio brought humor, creativity, and a different energy to the show. Their departure shocked audiences. Discovery never gave extensive details regarding the decision, but budget concerns and production restructuring were widely believed to be major factors. Suddenly, MythBusters felt different. The chemistry viewers had grown accustomed to was gone. Although Adam and Jamie continued carrying the show themselves, many fans felt something important had been lost. Ratings remained respectable, but they were no longer reaching the heights of earlier years. As television evolved, MythBusters faced an increasingly difficult challenge. How do you keep a science show fresh after more than a decade? After testing thousands of myths, the pool of truly exciting ideas was becoming smaller. The producers worked hard to find new concepts, But eventually every long-running show encounters the same problem: creative exhaustion. It becomes harder and harder to surprise audiences, harder to create moments that feel bigger than what came before, harder to maintain the same excitement year after year. For MythBusters, this challenge was becoming impossible to ignore. By 2015, Discovery executives reportedly faced a difficult decision. The show was still respected. It was still profitable. But it was also expensive and aging. Networks constantly evaluate whether long-running series can continue generating enough audience interest to justify their costs. Eventually, Discovery reached its conclusion. In October 2015, the network announced that MythBusters would end with its 14th season. The news stunned fans around the world. After 13 years, hundreds of episodes, and countless unforgettable experiments, one of television's most beloved science shows was coming to an end. Interestingly, there was no dramatic scandal,
no massive controversy,
no public feud,
no shocking betrayal.
Instead, the ending came from a combination of factors that had slowly built over time: declining ratings, rising production costs, creative challenges, changing television trends, and the simple reality that every show eventually reaches its natural conclusion. When the final season aired in 2016, emotions ran high. Fans celebrated the show's incredible legacy while saying goodbye to a series that had inspired an entire generation. The final episode served as both a farewell and a tribute. Adam and Jamie looked back on years of experiments, failures, successes, explosions, and discoveries. For many viewers, it felt like the end of an era. Yet the story did not end there. After MythBusters concluded, both hosts pursued new opportunities. Adam Savage embraced the internet age with remarkable success. His YouTube channel and creative platform, Tested, became one of the most popular destinations for makers, engineers, artists, and science enthusiasts. Through detailed build videos, interviews, and behind-the-scenes content, Adam continued inspiring millions of fans around the world. Jamie Hyneman chose a different path. True to his personality, he largely stepped away from the spotlight. He focused on engineering projects, innovation, and private ventures. While Adam remained highly visible, Jamie preferred a quieter life away from television fame. Meanwhile, former Build team members also found success. Kari Byron hosted additional television programs. Tori Belleci appeared in various science and engineering projects. Grant Imahara continued building an impressive career in technology and entertainment before his tragic passing in 2020, which deeply saddened fans worldwide. Even years after the show ended, MythBusters continued influencing science communication. Many modern YouTube creators credit the series as a major inspiration. Entire channels dedicated to engineering, physics, experimentation, and practical science owe part of their existence to the path MythBusters helped create. The show's impact reaches far beyond television ratings. It changed how people viewed science. It proved that education could be exciting. It showed that failure is not something to fear but something to learn from. Perhaps that is the greatest myth MythBusters ever destroyed. The myth that science is boring. For 13 incredible years, Adam Savage, Jamie Hyneman, and their team transformed curiosity into entertainment and experimentation into adventure. So what really ended MythBusters? Not a scandal. Not a feud. Not a single event. It ended because television changed, audiences changed, and after more than a decade of groundbreaking work, the show had simply reached the end of its journey. But while the series may be gone, its legacy remains stronger than ever. And every time someone asks a question, runs an experiment, or challenges a popular belief using evidence instead of assumptions, the spirit of MythBusters lives on. Because some shows disappear when they end. MythBusters became something much bigger than a television show. It became a legacy. There was another reason MythBusters struggled to continue indefinitely. Success had become its own problem. When the show first started, testing simple urban legends was enough to capture attention. But after years of increasingly massive experiments, audiences expected every season to be bigger than the last. The producers found themselves trapped in a cycle where each new episode had to outdo the previous one. Bigger explosions, bigger machines, bigger risks, bigger budgets. Eventually, the expectations became almost impossible to satisfy. Many longtime fans noticed that later seasons focus more on spectacular visuals than the smaller myths that originally made the show special. While the explosions were exciting, Some viewers felt the series was drifting away from its roots. At the same time, Discovery Channel was expanding its lineup with new reality programs that were significantly cheaper to produce. From a business perspective, the comparison was difficult to ignore. A single MythBusters episode could cost far more than multiple episodes of other reality shows. Even though MythBusters remained popular, television networks ultimately make decisions based on numbers. And the numbers were changing. What made the show's ending especially emotional was the realization that an entire generation had grown up watching it. Many engineers, scientists, inventors, and creators have spoken about how MythBusters inspired their careers. Some learned their first physics lessons from the show. Others discovered a passion for engineering because of Adam and Jamie's experiments. The series managed to make scientific thinking feel exciting rather than intimidating. That impact cannot be measured by ratings alone. One of the most remarkable things about MythBusters was its willingness to fail publicly. Not every experiment worked. Not every theory proved correct. Sometimes the team spent days building something only to watch it fail completely. But instead of hiding those failures, the show embraced them. Viewers learned that failure is part of the scientific process. You test. You learn. You adjust. And then you try again. That lesson may be more valuable than any myth the show ever tested. As the final season approached, both Adam and Jamie seemed to understand that MythBusters had already achieved something extraordinary. Very few television programs remain relevant for more than a decade. Even fewer managed to influence education, entertainment, and popular culture at the same time. MythBusters accomplished all three. By the time the final episode aired, the show had tested more than 1,000 myths, conducted countless experiments, and inspired millions of people around the world to think differently. The series may have ended in 2016, but its influence never truly disappeared. Today, you can see its fingerprints everywhere. Science channels on YouTube, engineering creators, DIY builders, educational content. Many of them follow the same formula MythBusters perfected years ago. Ask a question, test an idea, and let evidence reveal the answer. That is why fans still talk about the show nearly a decade after its finale. Not because it had the biggest explosions. Not because it had the highest ratings. But because it made curiosity cool. And that is a legacy few television shows will ever match. So when people ask why MythBusters ended, the real answer is simple. The show didn't fail. It didn't collapse. It didn't disappear because viewers stopped caring. It ended because every great journey eventually reaches its final chapter. But unlike most television programs, MythBusters left behind something far more valuable than entertainment. It left behind a generation of people who learned to question everything. And perhaps that was the greatest experiment of all. There is one final piece of the MythBusters story that many fans never knew. Despite spending more than a decade together on television, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman rarely socialized outside of work. Over the years, rumors spread that the two secretly disliked each other and that personal conflict ended the show. The truth was much less dramatic. Both men have openly acknowledged that they were very different people. Adam was energetic, emotional, and highly expressive. Jamie was methodical, private, and intensely focused. They approached problems from completely different angles. Ironically, those differences were exactly what made MythBusters work. When Adam saw possibilities, Jamie saw limitations. When Adam wanted to push boundaries, Jamie wanted to verify every detail. The tension viewers noticed on screen was not hostility. It was two intelligent people challenging each other's ideas in pursuit of better results. That contrast became the heart of the show. Without it, MythBusters would never have felt the same. Years after the finale, Adam admitted that he and Jamie were not friends in the traditional sense, but he also emphasized the enormous respect they had for each other's abilities. In many ways, their professional relationship represents one of the biggest lessons MythBusters ever taught. You do not have to be best friends to accomplish something extraordinary together. You simply need a shared goal and mutual respect. As time passed, fans began looking back at MythBusters with even greater appreciation. What once seemed like a fun science show now feels like something much rarer. A program that educated without preaching. A show that encouraged critical thinking without becoming boring. An entertainment series that actually made people smarter. In today's world of endless content, that achievement stands out more than ever. And perhaps that is why MythBusters continues attracting new viewers years after its cancellation. Young audiences who were not even born when the show premiered are still discovering old episodes online. They are watching the same experiments, learning the same lessons, and experiencing the same excitement that made millions of viewers fall in love with the series. Very few television shows can claim that kind of longevity. Most fade away when the cameras stop rolling. MythBusters became timeless. So, what really ended MythBusters? The answer is not one dramatic event. It was a combination of rising production costs, changing television trends, evolving audience habits, creative challenges, and the natural lifespan of a long-running series. But if we are being honest, the more important question isn't why MythBusters ended. The more important question is why people still care. And the answer is simple. Because MythBusters was never just about explosions. It was about curiosity. It was about questioning assumptions. It was about proving that facts matter more than opinions. And in a world filled with misinformation and assumptions, that message may be more important today than it was when the show first aired. More than 20 years after its debut, MythBusters remains one of the most influential science shows ever created. Its experiments may be finished. Its workshop may be quiet. Its cameras may be gone. But its legacy is still very much alive. And that is something no cancellation can ever take away. If you enjoy the video, like, comment, and subscribe the channel for more content. Thanks for watching.